taught in Kentucky for a year, and then I was also a building administrator down there in a K-8, well, pre-K-8 building down there. We then moved back up here to the area because we wanted to be closer to family. So I took a job over at Galveston, over in Cass County, and I was the elementary principal there for 5 years. Then I was superintendent at that corporation for 2 years prior to the board changing and a change of educational philosophy. And I am one that if I don't believe in the philosophy of the board, then it's not where I should be, because it's not good for me or the school as well. Currently, I'm an elementary principal down at Clarksville, at Parkwood Elementary School. We have over 600 students in the building, and it's a pre-K through 5 building. I commute. I have not moved down there. I live down there during the week, and I come back home on the weekends because this is home and this is where I want to be. I live in Carroll County, so it's about a 25-minute drive in here, not bad at all. Where I'm at now, and in Kentucky and in Texas, my free and reduced population has always been pretty high. Currently it's 88.7, and my ethnic diversity, currently we're at 53% Hispanic, and in Texas it was over 90%, as you can imagine. So I've been very fortunate to work with schools and communities that are very diverse, and that's okay. I like different, because I'm different. Some of the things I want to talk to you about are things when I was here that day on my tour of the building. I got to go into a lot of classrooms, and that was exciting for me because I love to be in the classrooms. I love to see the kids. I love to talk to the teachers and talk to the kids. The classrooms, one of the things that I really liked versus the traditional public school, your classrooms were not set up in rows to be farming in the classroom. And to me, the farming setup is not what's best for kids. I like them to work in collaborative and cooperative opportunities, which puts them more in a group setting. I made a comment to Erin about I love the lighting, because a lot of the classrooms had not just your fluorescent lights, they had small lamps in the room, which makes it a softer feeling, and I did like that as well. The teaching, the traditional teaching that you see generally in a public education setting, is the sit and get, where you're the teacher and I'm going to spoon feed you the information. And it's too bad if you don't get it, because I'm going to continue on. That's just the way I am, and that's what I'm going to do. Where here, it was more student-centered, student-driven, more investigative. I think that they took more time. The teachers were taking more time with the kids. Another thing I saw here that I was very excited about is you teach cursive writing. That's gone away, and so I think that's very important. I was very excited to see that. And I talked to a couple of the kids, and they were excited to be doing it, and they were doing a wonderful job. The curriculum in a public school is determined by the teacher. They don't take their cues from where the kids are and how they're progressing academically. Where here, it was more student-driven, but I feel like one of the things we could really work on is a little bit more deliberate in the methods that the teachers are using. And that comes through teacher professional development, just working with the teachers to learn how to embrace where the children are academically and to move them a little bit more towards the goal, the end goal. Another thing, well, I'll tell you, one of the things I felt like would really work well after I went home and started thinking about this. You have a greenhouse. I wrote a couple of units back earlier in my teaching career and have used them very successfully. And this is a good environment for that. Pumpkin Pals, which is an entrepreneurial venture for students in education where they start a business and they learn about the business aspect, plus they also learn about, you incorporate the language arts, math, science, and the social studies within the unit. It's something that is very amazing to watch and see the kids really thrive in something like that. I also used Cougar City, which is a classroom economic system where they have jobs, they get paid, they learn to budget, and things like that. Some real world experiences while they're pulling in the curriculum of their needs. Another thing, I was very pleased to see that you have free time, recess, social time. Where I'm at currently, it's not by my choice, but we are only allowed to let the kids have no more than 20 minutes of recess a day. That's it. We don't get any more social time, nothing. And you know as well as I do that education just isn't all about curriculum that you're getting in the classroom. It's about learning from your peers and interacting with your peers and moving forward so that you can get along with people. As we move forward with new community schools, some of the things that we need to be very mindful of is the letter grade. That's what
you need some water.
I've got some water. I'm gonna get it here in a second.
Get you some?
Yeah, I brought some in this is my beach class. I love the beach. Since I can't be there, this is what I use. But down at Indianapolis, they've decided that we have to be identified by a letter grade. And that's not right. I don't agree with it, but since we take public funds, we still have to participate. It's a necessary part of why we take public funds. I don't believe that the letter grade defines the school, but you know as well as I do, the community, the people out there, the businesses, that's what they see. And so it's our responsibility to help them understand that's just a snapshot in time. That does not define who we are. So I think we need to be deliberate with our lessons. We need to look at where the kids are academically, look at the data, create professional development opportunities for our staff to dissect the data and really use that to help guide the children in the right direction. Because if they've already got it and understand it, let's create more challenging opportunities for them. If they don't have it and don't understand it, then let's create opportunities that will allow them to understand it. And it may take 2 days, it may take 2 months, but we have to build the foundation for the kids. I think that we need to celebrate the successes, learn to celebrate the small successes in the classroom, celebrate them as a school, create opportunities where we can celebrate, whether it's a staff celebration, whether it's celebrating what the kids have done, and invite parents and community members in to see the great things. Along with that comes increased enrollment. That's a challenge, increasing enrollment, because enrollment means dollars. That's the way the state has set up the budget system. Every child is X number of dollars. And so when you lose students, you lose money on that. And so when you lose money, there are opportunities that you cannot provide for the kids, even though you want to. Financially, you're unable to. So I think with that, we need to communicate with the general population. This school I've been in education since 1992. I did not know this school existed until when I was looking for places that I might want to be. I saw this. So I started researching about this school. You guys are like a diamond in a mine that no one has found. Nobody, we just don't know you exist. I've driven past this, I've seen it, but I thought it was an alternative school for the Lafayette School Corporation. So what are you doing to get your word out there to promote yourself? I think we need to get the media involved. I think we invite them in. If they are unable to come in, I've done this before, well then can I take some pictures and write up a little blurb and send it to you so you can get it in? And they typically do. I don't think that's here even just within the Lafayette community. I think you need to look beyond that, beyond the borders of this circle, because people drive in from the surrounding counties. A lot of people like for their kids to be close by where they're working. This is an opportunity for them to have that and to have an education that is unique and focuses specifically on their individual child's needs. We're small enough that that can happen. I think newsletters need to be not just sent out to parents. I think you need to get businesses on board, put newsletters in banks, send newsletters to parents to put in their places of employment if they can do that, put them on bulletin boards. There are all kinds of opportunities where you can promote, and it takes everyone. It's not just a one-person deal. It takes everyone to promote. I think we have to create more visibility, whether that's going to the fairs and set up a booth to show people who we are, have a little slideshow of what's going on in the classrooms and things like that. And I think the families that attend here also need to be promoting the great things that are happening here. It's your school. You want it. I think opportunities for excellence need to be promoted, and there are a lot of opportunities here. I think that what I talked about the student center, about it's not the traditional sit and get. It is student guided, with the teacher being the one that, I guess, orchestrates it, brings it all together for the kids. The financial growth, of course, that depends on the increased enrollment, as well as can we get businesses on board for donors. We also need to think about that. How can we promote this in the business community? I've gone to organizations such as Rotary, Kiwanis, Lions Club. I've taken kids there to present. I've taken teachers there to present. And every time it happens, I get business people saying, what can we do to help you? Do you need financial things? Do you need us to come in and volunteer? They're always willing, but if they don't know you're here, they don't know what they can do to help you. And so you have to be willing to ask. I think we need to invite people to open houses, not just families, but I think it needs to be businesses as a whole, churches. You know, we can promote this in so many ways that I don't feel like have happened because, like I said, I've been in education since '92 and I did not know who you were. I think presentations to these businesses and organizations, not just from the executive director, but what really hits the heart is when it's kids and teachers. When they go out and they make presentations about some of the great things they're doing and the exciting opportunities at New Community, that's where you're going to see the businesses start to jump on board. So, for me, I'm here. I've been here. I've moved a couple of places, but I've also learned a tremendous amount from moving those places. But I am all about family. family is first and foremost. So that's why I've chosen not to buy a home down there. I still live in Carroll County. The wonderful things that are happening and how we can build on those things that are happening here at the school with the support and the help of the parents and the community and the teachers. It takes everybody. And we need to share what we're doing. Plain and simple. We've got to all talk and talk positive. We all have enough negative things happening. We don't need to talk negative and bad about our school. If you have negative and bad, you want to talk about the school, and come to me, and we'll work it out on an individual basis. But you don't need to do that. I had a question that the last one about negativity on social media, and I addressed that. But we get enough negative, and the social media people, those on Facebook, they're not going to be able to do anything to help you. You have to come to the source to listen to you and to try to work through the problem and the issue. We're adults, and that's the way adults do it. Okay? That's all I have. Do you have any questions? Yes.
I have a question. So you talked a lot about the families doing things, and you know, I'm sure, as you know, NCS has a 40-hour a year commitment, and it has consistently been a problem that is not being met with families. So,
well,
how would you?
I
help
think
that?
the 40 hours, maybe you're looking at it more as physically here doing things, and that's not always the case. You know, maybe your business is doing something, and you can promote NCS through your business in some way. Maybe you give a presentation to your coworkers or something. I think those types of things need to be included in the 40 hours. Whatever you're doing to help promote the school, not that you physically have to be here, you know, that's...
Well, and to be honest, I think the obstacle has not been that people are not aware of that. Everyone knows you can buy supplies, you can take work home, you can do all those things. I think that there's a problem within NCS where not all the families are as engaged. So I guess my question is how would you engage the families more? Because I think it's easy to meet those 40 hours if you have an engaged family, but it's not always the case.
Yes, and that is a struggle everywhere. It's not just here. We struggle to get families engaged everywhere we go. I think what we need to do, I think it needs to be an individual thing. And if you have a family that is not engaging in those 40 hours, I think it's it would be my responsibility, and maybe the board, to help out as well, to sit down with that family and say, what can we do to help you be more engaged and active? We understand you've got kids, you've got jobs, you've got life. Life happens. And so what would work for you to be able to help our kids and your kids and the school be successful with your 40 hours? And so it may not be anything close to what you're doing, but it's what will work for that family. And so that's where I think you need to go. And I think if they feel like, hey, I can do this over here, and that works for my family. So I think you have to take it on an individual basis. Would I love for every family to be in here doing 40 hours worth of work? Yes, tremendous things could happen with that kind of volunteer in place. But realistically, I know it's not going to happen. And so if I want 40 hours out of you, I've got to figure out how it's going to work for you to make it not a burden or a barrier for you, but something that maybe we can already incorporate with what you're doing. And it could be something totally off the wall. I mean, I don't know what that could be, because it would be, you know, as you talk with me, it would be what we're doing and what we listen and what I hear you talking about. Some of my best ideas come from just off the cuff as I listen to people. Yes.
So I have a question about serving the high ability kids, and you mentioned, you know, using the data, then you can already understand who already gets it and challenge students who already have performing. So how do you do that in practice? What does that look like in practice, where you're able to serve the needs of the high ability kids?
What you do is, if it's a lesson that you're working on, you differentiate and you give those kids some choices, but you guide them towards that higher end, that higher depth of knowledge, that higher level of blooms is what you do. You guide them towards that. You might also have to say, if they pick one down here, you know what, I know you can do something a little bit more challenging. Let's work towards that. That's what you have to do. You have to differentiate. You have to know which ones are the high ones, which ones are the middle, which ones are the lower, and you have to gear your lessons and what you want from those kids towards that. And you can do it in a variety of ways. And if the teacher doesn't understand how to do that, then I can work with them. We can get them to some professional development to work with them. I was licensed in high ability in Texas. I've taught high ability kids, so I'm pretty familiar with how to differentiate with those kids. Likewise, I've always also worked with spec ed kids and created a life skills program at the last school corporation I was at. I also have a special needs child myself, and I also have two gifted kids. So,
I'm not an expert on this at all, so does the literature suggest that, you take kids out and bump them into a higher grade for certain lessons?
I have done that before. I'm not, I don't fit the norm, I believe that if a child is a second grade child, but in math, they're performing at a third grade level, I put them in a third grade room to do their math instruction. Likewise, if a child is a second grade, but they're just not getting maybe language arts or math, I might bump them, and I've had this before, and that's one of the ways I've moved the bar, is to really hone in on that data and look at, okay, for this skill set, this child, this group of kids fit together. I've put first, second, and third together, second, third, fourth. I don't put a first with a fifth grader unless it's in a resource room, but I will take 3 grade levels and blend those kids, those ages of kids, for that specific skill that they're working on. And they may be in there together for anywhere from 2 to 6 weeks, maybe longer depending on what's happening. And then those groupings, they change according to the data and how it's supported. Now that could be formal assessments or informal assessments. You use Northwest, which is NWEA, which is a wonderful tool for those types of things, to be able to look at that data. I've also periodically, when the teacher says, you know what, they're ready to move, they're ready to go, if there's if we're really not sure, then I've put them like what's called a little short survey, and we plug them into a really short survey. It takes about 10 minutes for the child to do, and that validates, yes, that child's ready to move. So. Other questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
So we know that the state has the letter grades and everything, and they highlight all of that. So that's going to be out there no matter what. So what are some measures that you would look at to know if the school is successful or not, and that the students were meeting what they needed to learn?
I look at individual kids. If the individual child, if we've got that benchmark information, which usually comes from Northwest or ISTEP, if they are making gains and growth, they're successful. Plain and simple. Because you don't operate the same way I operate, the same way she operates. We're all individual. And that's what I look at. Are the individual kids being successful? The letter grade, it's a necessary evil. Because the state says we have to do it, we do it. But I think if you start focusing more on the individual child, and are they successful, and are they making gains and growth, then that will transfer over. And you will eventually see. When I went to Galveston, they were on academic watch. And they were getting ready for the state was getting ready to come in because they had been there for a while. They were not good. And I came in with some ideas and like what I was talking about, you know, you have different grade level of kids in a room because they're all working on the same skill at the same level, and and we became an exemplary school within 2 years. I thought it would take 5. I would have been happy at 3, but we did it in 2. And it's because we focused on the kids. So, you're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay.
Well, if you don't have any other questions, did you have one?
No, I asked him if he had one.
Oh,
No.
okay. Yes.
So, one of the concerns I've had, is about, whether there's enough supervision of the kids, like at lunch or on the playground. And, you know, my kid has had, there've been incidents where I, you know, was concerned about the safety of my child. And so I'm wondering how you approach those issues.
Safety is extremely important to me, because if a child does not feel safe in their environment, then nothing else productive is gonna happen. Because I haven't been here an extended amount of time, I would have to see who's where and the strategic placement of personnel, because I believe supervision is what will cut off a lot of those things. A lot of those problems that might happen is the adult supervision. And just because the adult is there doesn't mean that they're there, you know. There's a couple teachers out on the playground, you know, the tendency, they're human, and I get it. The tendency is to come together and start talking, and then they lose track of paying attention to the kids. So I think the strategic placement of the teachers, you know, you're assigned this area, you're assigned this area. The lunchroom, I think it's important to have enough people in the lunchroom to support the number of kids. And that may mean that, you know, maybe you don't get to have lunch at 11:30 or 12 o'clock. You might have to have lunch at 1 o'clock. When I was over at Galveston, I usually didn't have lunch until after all the kids were done, because I was busy in the lunchroom doing things like that.
Okay. Do you have any closing remarks, Trudie?
I just want to thank all of you for coming out on a rainy day when maybe you'd rather be curled up on the couch with a book or crocheting or sewing or doing something more fun. But I appreciate you coming out and learning about what the future of your child's education might be. So, thank you.
Thank you, Trudie.
Thank you.